So,
Okay, well,
you
mark that down
never
too.
you never called the police about any alleged threat to Rigo's life, did you?
No.
Okay. And you
Do
realize
you want to know why? Because I
I'm
told Adrian that
I'm
there will be
asking
repercussions and
you get a
Your
chance,
consequences
Honor,
ma'am.
for taking my son's
You'll get a
life.
chance to respond to that. You get a chance to respond to that, but I'm going to let her ask her questions. You have a chance to
Good morning,
provide
Your Honor.
context when she
Maria
says. Hi there.
Services hearing. I have Adrian Crane just to my side. Also in my office is Layla Harp and Hannah Crane.
Okay. And it looks like they're on separate Zoom. Sometimes people are all in the same room, but they're. So what's going to happen, Ms. Bland?
No.
Could you, Jasmine? There's someone listed as Jasmine Durham as a witness. What case are you here for? You just muted. I just want to know what case you're here for.
I'm here as the witness for Ms. Bland, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and mute up, and then what's your name, sir?
Jasmine Durham.
You can stand by here just a moment. I'll get to you when the time comes.
All right, thank you.
But please mute. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, Ms. Bland, what's going to happen is I'm going to swear you in. I'm going to hear from you, and then I'll just let you tell me in narrative form why you want an order against those two folks. I'll need specifics about both individuals. There's an attorney involved in this case. She's going to be allowed to ask you questions. And then you can call whatever witnesses you wish to call. It looks like you have one. I'll swear in that witness here for that witness. And then Ms. Sturbis is going to be allowed to ask questions there also. And then following that, I'll make a determination as to whether orders should be entered against either or both of the folks you're asking for. So with that, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead, ma'am. I'll hear from you.
So there was an incident this last summer that was involved Layla and my son. And it wasn't until August 11th that I was contacted by my son at Rigo Reyes. He was at work. He had been chased through McDonald's by Adrian Crane that was threatening him, telling him that he was going to be 18 soon. Basically, Adrian was upset that my son had allegedly assaulted Layla. So I called Adrian. I messaged Adrian actually on Facebook, and I told him that he was not going to be harassing or stalking my child, and that it ended right there, and that he needed to come to me. He asked for a phone number, and I gave him Jasmine's phone number, as he's a man, and I know how Adrian is, and I was just going to put a man in between Adrian and I. My boyfriend called him, and in the phone call, he was telling Jasmine that he did chase Rigo, and that he
I'm going to
is
object
upset
at this point based on.
Hang on. Okay, Ms. Bland, when somebody objects, you need to stop. You understand? So I'm going to hear from Ms. Sturbis what the objection is. Then I'll make a ruling one way or the other. Go ahead.
Your Honor,
Ms. Sturbis.
thank you. This would be hearsay, Your Honor. Ms. Bland certainly can call witnesses, and they can talk about what they said to her, but I believe that this is not the best evidence, and this is hearsay, and I'd be objecting on that basis.
So, ma'am, I'm going to sustain that objection, which means I don't want you to talk about what Mr. Durham said. He's here. I'll swear him in a minute, and I'm assuming he can testify to that phone call, and I'll hear from him on what was said then.
So the phone call was on speaker, and Jasmine and I were both talking to Adrian. Adrian had said, I won't say what Jasmine had said. I heard Adrian say on that phone call that he will bury my son, and that he will be 18 soon. And so I told Adrian that that won't happen without consequences.
So hang on just a second. So Mr. Durham, Jasmine Durham, you're on mute.
Yes, Your
I don't
Honor.
want you driving. Are you, I'm assuming you're at work right now?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm getting ready to pull out and pull over. I'm able to talk in a few seconds.
Okay.
I just need to pull out and pull over.
Go off screen and then go pull over.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
I don't want you, prefer not to have my infractions committed in real time. So turn off your camera, mute yourself, and then pull over. And then when you're stationary again, you can come back on.
Thank you. Just a few seconds.
I apologize for interrupting, Ms. Bland. Go ahead.
I forgot where I was. So just the phone call. We would hang up with Adrian on August 11th, and he'd call back. He was harassing us. He knew that we were at a family event at the zoo, and he was just relentlessly calling, saying that he was going to hurt my child, that he would be a grown-up soon, and then it wouldn't be hurting a minor. My son Rigo is on Zoom right here, but he's not 18 yet. So I attempted to get a no contact order after after Jasmine received a message of a picture of Rigo stating this is what your son is doing, when I didn't ask Adrian to follow my son around to report back to what he was doing. My comment that I made to Adrian was to basically let me know if he had concerns around my son and him or Layla, not what my son was randomly doing out in the public. So I went to go file a restraining order and found out that they had moved, so I couldn't have him served. I tried to find his address. I asked Layla. She was unable to provide it. So then I finally asked Adrian what his address was, and that's when he indicated that at that time he was now going to be pressing charges on my son months after a situation that was retaliatory and my concerns of my son's safety. I went trick-or-treating as I always do in Yelm with my kids. Our first neighborhood is always behind the high school, and then we go over to Cherry Meadows. And like the third house that we walked up to, the first people to answer the door was Hannah. And I had no idea that's who it was at first until she had already given the kids candy, and then she stood up from bending down handing the kids candy, and I saw her face. Adrian came out and he had said some stuff that was clear on video. I had already walked down the road, so I couldn't hear what he was saying. But he had mentioned something about being 18 years old, which is basically what he had told my son, that he was going to get him when he was 18. And so the very next day, my son's wallet that had been missing from his job was placed on the top of our trash can, like on the very top, and it was all scattered about. And that was the very next morning of coming across Adrian's address. And then on Thanksgiving, my son showed me a notification that he had received from TikTok that Hannah was viewing his account, and I messaged her asking her not to be watching my son's account because she has no concern over him anymore. And she told me that it would be stalking or harassment if I replied to her. So I just let that be what it was, because I don't care about these people. They made threats to my son, and I just want us protected. 2 days after that text that I sent, my son came to me and he had a bullet. He said he found it in his bed, and it's to a 9mm. And before this incident, we didn't own a 9mm or have any ammunition to a 9mm. we don't have anybody that comes to our house, to our property. So I'm not sure how it was placed there, but with him not having any issues with anybody else inside in our community, I am assuming that it's Adrian because he had threatened to kill my son. The day of the incident of it was sometime in June, I believe, with the incident with Rigo and Layla. My son Rigo received text messages saying that someone was going to kill him also, and it came from a number where Adrian and Layla came from North Carolina, I believe. And I'm just concerned. I just want my son protected. They're saying that I filed this as retaliatory to the charges that were filed when I had already filed something before the charges were filed. And when I was speaking to the judge about why the charges were filed, she told me that I could come down and seek a protection order. And so that's what I did.
This is based on hearsay as well.
I'll overrule that. You can keep going, ma'am.
For 16.
The judge sat in the courtroom and told me that if I was concerned about my son's safety, then to go file a no contact order. So that is what I did.
When did you learn their address?
Halloween.
Okay. Ms. Sturbis, you have any questions you wish to ask Ms. Bland?
I do, thank you. Good morning, Ms. Bland.
Hello.
So you signed this petition for protection order, and you signed that under penalty of perjury, correct?
Well, yeah, that's why it's in there, right?
Okay. And just directing your attention to the end where you did sign the petition, you signed where you were, Olympia, Washington, correct?
Yeah.
And then you printed your name as required and you signed your name, and that's your signature, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you put the date on it because you're required to put the date on it. You put November 17th, 2023, and that's your handwriting as well, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you realize that it's really important to be accurate in this petition because you're swearing under penalty of perjury that it's important to be accurate. You understand that, right?
So what's the question?
Do you understand that?
Well, yeah.
Bland, I just ask you, just answer the questions, please. You know, I know you're not happy being here. I know you're not happy having to answer these questions, but when she asks you a question, just answer it as best you can, please.
You understand how important it is to be accurate because you're swearing under penalty of perjury that everything in here is correct, right?
Right.
Okay. And at this point, did you want to make any corrections to the petition that you swore under penalty of perjury was accurate on November 17th?
Any corrections?
Right. Is there anything in there that's wrong, inaccurate, false?
Let's see. Well, I did state that when Adrian was saying something to me when I was walking away, that I assumed that he was cussing at me, but he said something about being 18 years old.
Okay. Did you want to make any other corrections?
No.
Okay. So on page 7 of the petition, you put in here and I'm going to be very specific because I want to make sure that you understand what I'm talking about. Under firearms and other dangerous weapons, and that would be section O, you put the restrained person does the restrained person have or own firearms, and you check the box yes. Correct?
Okay. Okay, he's in the military.
But it says that's not what it asks. It says, does the restrained person have or own firearms? Yes, no, or I don't know. And you check the box yes. Correct?
Right. He's told my son about guns,
And
so
then the next box that you checked, you said, even if the restrained person does not have firearms now, has the restrained person ever used firearms, other weapons, or objects to threaten or harm you? And you check the box yes, correct?
I don't have it in front of me, so I don't see it.
It does
So
say
you
yes,
don't
ma'am.
remember.
I do have it in front of me.
Okay,
Okay.
so you did check the box yes. Okay, but then when we look at attachment E, and that's still attached to your petition, that's you've sworn is accurate under penalty of perjury. Then we look at that and it says, does the restrained person own or have access to any firearms? That's number 1 on attachment E. And you say at that point, unknown. Correct?
Right.
Okay. And also listed on your petition, and now I'd like to focus your attention on page 9, and this is under number 16, most recent incident. And so on that, when you talk about and I want to be very precise, just a second. Okay, so you say, on October 31st, 2023, I was trick-or-treating and my children came up unknowingly to Adrian's house. Layla's mom got Adrian to the door, who came outside yelling and threatening to beat my ass. So you put in your petition under penalty of perjury that he was yelling to beat your ass, yelling and threatening, correct? That's what you wrote,
Right,
correct?
but after seeing the video, I was
right. Mm-hmm. I did have another question, but you did have an opportunity to observe the Ring video, which was recorded on his front doorstep. And on the Ring video, which I provided
that
to
Ring
you for
video
your
is
review,
edited to edit out what he had said.
Just a second, just stop. If 2 people are talking, I can't hear either one. Okay, so we're going to let Ms. Sturbis finish her question. When she's done with the question, then you can answer. Okay?
Okay.
So go ahead, Ms. Sturbis, you can ask your question.
Thank you. So you did observe the Ring video, and in the Ring video, isn't it true that Adrian Crane never harassed you or threatened you at all?
It's not true, because at 2:58, I believe, on that video, it's edited out and it cuts the frame from somebody in the video to just all of a sudden they're gone without them walking away or anything, and then the video resumes.
So you're saying he was yelling and threatening to beat your ass?
He was yelling, but I thought I heard him. I thought I heard him say that's what he was going to. I thought I heard him say he was going to beat my ass, but he literally said something about being 18, which is the same thing he told my son when he threatened to kick my son's ass.
Okay, understood. And then also on your petition, you say on page 11 that it says restrained person's substance abuse. And you say, is substance abuse involved? And you check the box, yes. You could have checked yes, no, or unknown. You checked yes. And then what type of substance abuse? And you put alcohol, correct?
Right. Because that's
my question.
man
That was my question.
Adrian was bringing to me.
Ma'am, I get to ask. Your Honor,
Okay.
I would ask you to direct her to answer my question.
So go ahead, Ms. Might have to ask you re-ask it and then let her answer.
No, I did mark
that's-
that he blank because from my assumptions, how Adrian was coming to me was not from a stable or a sane man. He was chaotic. He was
So you were
out
making
there, out of-
assumptions. Okay, I understand. Next. So, Ms. Bland, you're familiar with using law enforcement to protect you, right? You've obtained no contact orders before against Rigo's biological father, correct?
That was done in a divorce.
Right, but you know how to use law enforcement to help protect yourself, correct?
Right. And I have to take certain
And
days off of work because I don't have paid
And
leave. So
I'm
I
not
have to be
asking you
strategic.
about taking days off work, Ms. Bland. If you could just answer my questions that I'm asking
Well,
you, please.
I have certain day. I'm telling you, I have certain days that I can do it.
Okay, so again,
Another-
when two people are talking, I can't understand either one. So Ms. Service can ask your question. Ms. Bland, you can answer.
Thank you. So you've also utilized law enforcement before. You called the police when you thought that your son stole your drugs, correct?
Actually, it's not drugs, it's medical marijuana, but you're correct.
Okay. And you've also called the police before, and because you wanted to know if you could take away your son's phone, correct?
Right.
Okay, so you're very familiar that you can use law enforcement for a variety of reasons to protect yourself, correct?
Correct. But in a
Okay.
civil matter, they direct you to file a restraining order.
Oh, that's just, again, I'm just trying to get to a point. So
Okay, well,
you
mark it down too.
never called the police about any alleged threat to Rigo's life, did you?
No.
Okay, and you
Do
realize
you want to know why? Because I told Adrian that
I'm
there will be
Just-
repercussions and
You'll get a chance,
consequences.
ma'am.
Seeing my son
You'll get a
alive.
chance to respond to that. You get a chance to respond to that, but I'm going to let her ask her questions. You know, you have a chance to provide context when she's done.
Did you call the police after you were told that, allegedly told that Adrian Crane chased Rigo into a McDonald's bathroom? Yes or no?
I did not call the police because
Again, it's a yes or no question, and you're going to have plenty of opportunities to say whatever you want. Did you call the police when you found a bullet? Did you call the police when you found a bullet allegedly on your son's bed?
Nope.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about that. You said that on November 28th, someone put a bullet on Rigo's bed, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has no
And
presence.
that was in Rigo's RV that you stated he lives in on your original petition, correct?
That's his bedroom, yes.
Okay. And so where is that RV? Is that behind your house? Can you
Next
just
to
tell
the
me,
house.
is there is what?
Next to the house.
Next to the house? Okay. And about how far from the road would you say that is? Just a ballpark.
What road?
The road that people drive up to get to your house?
I have no idea how close that is to the road. There's a 6-foot gate in between.
Okay, so you have to go through a pathway and a gate to get to your house, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, and does that gate also, you have to go through that to get to the RV, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you usually keep that gate open or closed?
It's open.
Okay. And did you ever personally witness Adrian exhibiting substance abuse? Personally, you personally, did you ever see Adrian either drunk or on drugs personally?
No.
Okay. And you did realize that the manager at McDonald's said that Rigo was not supposed to be at McDonald's while Layla was working, correct?
I believe that's hearsay, as there's no statement of that.
It's filed as a declaration, so I can review that, ma'am.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that served to me.
Okay, well, I do have proof that I gave that to you, so it would have been in either Layla Harp's declaration
I only
and or
received.
Hannah Crane's declaration. And I have the proof of all of those, and that's also been filed with the court, Your Honor.
So if he wasn't supposed to be there, why was Adrian asked to leave?
So you weren't ever advised by the manager that they weren't supposed to be working the same shifts and weren't supposed to be there at the same time after the assault charges?
No,
You never knew that. Okay.
they never told me that. No.
Okay. And with regards to, you did receive a screenshot it was attached to a supplemental declaration, and that was a screenshot of a message that you had sent Adrian that says Korine at the top, correct? Where
Yeah.
it starts out, you did?
Yeah, I got that.
Okay.
And I have it too.
And that text, that it's a pretty long text, but in that text, that was on August 11th, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And so in that text, you wrote, and I quote, "I do believe the things you are saying. I do not think anyone should be hitting another ever." Rigo.
Yeah, because Layla was hitting Rigo also.
And you also said, "If you have an issue with anything that happens from now until then, please come to me. I got hot just as I'm sure you did," correct?
Mm-hmm.
You went on to say, "I do not want him harassing anyone," correct?
Right. Just as the same as I don't want him to be harassed.
And later in the text, you say, "Again, could you please just message me with any issue?" Correct?
Between that pertained to him and Layla and Rigo, correct? Not what he was doing randomly. I didn't ask him to go out and parent Rigo.
Okay. And then you also say, "I want any woman to do what she needs to do to make herself feel safe," correct?
Yep.
You go on to say, "I told Layla this the exact day this happened," correct?
Yeah, that her and my son needed to separate, correct?
And then you said, "I can't protect my son when he's wrong. I even told Layla, do not forgive this ever for anyone," correct?
That was after, correct. That was after I only heard Layla's side of the story.
But this
I didn't get a chance to hear my son's side.
This is
Right,
all one text from you to Adrian Crane. Okay, I just
I
want to make sure that
understand.
you're confirming that that's yours, okay? And then
Hang on just a second. I have a question. What date was that text sent?
August 11th.
correct?
Thank you.
And it was a Facebook message.
Okay. And so then, so you said in your statement that Layla has allegedly repeatedly hit your son Rigo, correct? You said that?
She has.
Okay.
I have text messages of her not wanting it be brought up at court too, to
and
Rigo.
You said that she repeatedly said that she's repeatedly hit him in his private areas, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And how many times have you reported this alleged assault to the police?
They are minors, so I just.
That's not what I'm asking. Have you ever reported that to the police?
I'm trying to answer your question, but you're interrupting with what you think I'm going to say.
No, it's a yes, no question. Yes or no, have you reported these alleged assaults to the police? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, thank you. And then
we don't typically call the police.
Again, I don't have a question in front of you right now.
Well, it would be a yes or no question, so that doesn't matter.
Your Honor, can I have just 1 second before I'm done with this witness? Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience, Ms. Bland. So You mentioned when we were talking about the text message from August 11th that you hadn't had a chance at that point to talk to your son, and that's why you were maybe mistaken, correct? You
Well,
didn't know the full
about
story.
the entirety of their relationship. He wasn't forthcoming of her assaults until August 11th after Adrian and I had talked.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
So ma'am, you were trying to get some words in there. Any context you wish to provide to any of the questions you gave? Any answers you gave to Ms. Service's questions?
When it comes to listing Adrian as drinking, those were assumptions just based on his behavior. When he would contact me, he was erratic, very hostile. It was not a civil conversation. So my thinking is he came back from deployment and started doing something that made him act the way he was acting towards me and my son. When it comes to the McDonald's thing, I was never contacted by McDonald's about Rigo and Layla working different shifts. I was told that they wouldn't be, but I wasn't told that it was like mandatory or because I had asked them not to work the same shift. But they have worked at the same place for some time, and even though she works one shift, he might have worked later, and he doesn't have a car and we live out of town. So if somebody's coming into town, he gets dropped off at what time he gets dropped off. And when it comes to the guns, he's in the military. Why wouldn't he have access to firearms? He's never said that he would shoot me or my son, but he did say that he would bury my son, and that's concerning with all of that is going on. I have a witness to that phone call. I also have a witness to his attempted intimidation, saying if he was going to sue me for my house because he went and got an attorney to show up to court, and was like, if she shows up something about if I go to court, then my house is his house or something. And that was all recorded when my boyfriend went to serve the papers. The text, I have no idea where that came from. All I know is that it's a North Carolina number, like Adrian and Layla have, that states that there was a death threat. They claim that,
hang on just a second. The text you're talking about from North Carolina, you got that in June, right?
yeah, that was the day of the incident.
And so then that text that you had sent to Mr. Korine in August, that was a couple of months after that when you sent that text.
So Your Honor, that text was him and I were trying to come to an understanding on the conversation we had while he was calling because it was on Facebook. So he was calling and texting.
Just a second. All this stuff, this incident, McDonald's and all of that, was that before or after that text in August?
The stuff at McDonald's happened the morning of that text. Him and I were talking through the conversation because he was not civil when he first contacted me. And then later, as we text, we were trying to come to an agreement on figuring out their stuff. Us parents being mad about what their relationship that they had going on. And then when I showed Rigo,
I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you because I have my answer. I have one additional question for you, which might take a long answer, but then I'll hear from Mr. Durham, and then I'll let Ms. Service speak with Mr. Durham. But we've been going at this for quite some time. I don't have any idea why you're asking for an order against Ms. Hart, and maybe you could explain that.
I'll explain that right now. She had been going into McDonald's after she came back from her, Mr. Crane pushed Layla down the stairs. The next day, she flew out to her dad's house. Um, she was gone for some time. She told me on the phone that she didn't know if she was going to come back, that she didn't want to move back because she didn't like her stepdad.
So again, that doesn't,
So,
wait, hang on just a second, ma'am. I'm going to stop you. The relationship between her and her stepdad
okay,
just doesn't matter here.
I'm
You're
telling
asking,
you,
let me finish, ma'am.
I'm telling you,
Finish.
I'm telling you
Yeah,
the
can you let me
backup. I'm
finish,
telling you the
please?
backstory.
Can you let me finish, please? Right? So you're asking for an order to keep her away from you because she's harassing you. What I want to know is, how is it that she's harassing you? Because I haven't heard anything yet. I understand your position on Mr. Crane, but I don't understand why you're asking how Ms. Harp is harassing you in any way based on anything I've heard so far.
So I was asking for the order. I was unsure how to go about an order between her and my son, since my son is a minor. And I had asked her to stay away from my son when she came back and was no longer working at McDonald's. And she told me that her friends work at McDonald's, so she
Objection.
she
Again, this
wasn't
is
willing to
hearsay.
stay.
You can stop. Okay. So, okay, you've answered my question, ma'am. So I'm going to hear from Mr. Durham. I can unmute himself. And you raise your right hand, sir? You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead. What do you have to add to this situation?
So on the day, I'm pretty sure we were at the zoo on August 11th. We had received a phone call from Rico. He was really erratic and upset, saying that Adrian had chased him into the bathroom. I messaged Adrian. I'm pretty sure it was me that messaged Adrian. I told him, I said, if you have an issue with one of our children or with Rigo, you're more than welcome to contact me. And I received a call from Adrian. He's really upset. And I told him to come to me. I'm an adult. He was really upset. He was saying, where are you at? We can meet up now. And I'm like, I'm at the zoo. We're at the zoo with the kids. And he's like, because he was like, where you at, motherfucker? Excuse my language. I was like, we're at the zoo. And we talked for a few minutes. Well, he was yelling. Hung up the phone. I hung up the phone because we weren't getting anywhere in the argument. He called back. I answered the phone. He was still yelling. I hung up and kept calling and called, I think 2 or 3 more times. And then after a little bit, we calmed down and I got on the phone and I talked to him. We got to a point to where we were calm and, trying to talk through the situation. I did receive later on, I can't remember the day, I did receive a picture text message that Miss Bland was referring to. It was a picture from Adrian. I'm not sure what Rigo was doing. It was just a picture of Rigo and some kids in the McDonald's parking lot. He was explaining to me that Rigo was smoking weed with a kid in the parking lot, though the picture didn't really show anything. It just showed Rigo and another kid standing in a parking lot.
Okay, keep going.
As what I heard about on Halloween, I was at work, so I wasn't there. Though I heard that Korine and the children, because my 2 children was present with hers, she took all of our kids trick-or-treating. Okay. And
so I can't really hear, Mr. Durham, I can't really hear, when they start telling you, and then you're telling me what they told you. I'm anticipating a hearsay objection there, so you can tell me what you know. But go ahead there, okay. Mr. Durham.
Understood. I don't remember what morning it was. It was really early in the morning. It was before school. It was right after. This was right after Halloween. It was like the day after Halloween. I got up to go to work and I was changing my oil. And this is another instance that Ms. Bland was referring to, that I did find. Oh, I apologize. I gotta go back a minute to August 11th. When I was talking to Adrian on the phone, he did tell me, because I told him, I was like, arguing with a minor or trying to assault a minor, it just wasn't gonna work. And he told me that Rigo was gonna be 18
I'm going to
soon.
object again based on the hearsay.
I'll overrule that objection. You can cross-examine him on it, but he is a party. And so go ahead, Mr. Durham, you can continue.
Adrian told me that Rigo was going to be 18 soon and he was going to bury him. And that was told directly to me. But there was a day, it was in October, I went to go change my oil. I looked in our garbage can outside of our gate and I found Rigo's wallet and the contents of it scattered inside of the garbage can. Though I didn't see who put it in there. And with referring to the bullet, Rigo came into our bedroom about 7 o'clock in the morning. He was upset. And because he actually fallen asleep on the couch. So he didn't sleep in his room that night. And he come in upset because he went to go grab clothes. And he went to go grab his clothes and he come back and said that he had found a 9mm.
Again, I'm going to object,
bullet.
Your Honor. This has been based on hearsay, and we don't know if
Tell me
Rigo is
what was
planning
said.
on taking the stand.
Rigo's here. He can.
Your Honor, if I may.
Okay, no, not right now. If he's here, if you want to call him as a witness, we can swear him in and hear from him. Good. Continue on, Mr. Durham.
Rigo came into our bedroom and holding a 9mm bullet and showed me a bullet. He said he was laying directly in the center of his bed. I told him to give me the bullet. We looked at it for a little bit. I have the bullet actually in my gun safe. But that's that's about it as far as the bullet goes.
Ms. Sturbis, do you have any questions you wish to ask Mr. Durham?
Yes, thank you. So, Mr. Durham, you said that August 11th, you were at the zoo with your family. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that my client called you more than once. How many times do you think?
We talked on the phone about twice, but I think all in all, it was probably about 3 or 4 times, maybe 5.
Okay. So both failed attempts and completed attempts, you say about 5 times? Okay. And what's the last 4 of your phone number?
The last 4 of my phone number is 0001. Though the calls
Okay.
weren't all through my phone number, they were through Messenger also.
This statement that was submitted, Mr. Durham, did you write this statement?
I did.
So you typed it all out? Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing further for this witness.
Ms. Bland, did you wish, Mr. Reyes is there?
Yes.
Did you wish to have him testify?
I
swear
do.
him in. Okay.
I do.
So he needs to understand, apparently there's a criminal proceeding against him? Is that yes,
Yes.
or no? Yes. So he needs to understand that this is recorded. Anything he say can be used against him in the proceeding in juvenile court. He needs to understand that.
Okay, Rigo, don't talk about anything prior to the day you were chased.
And so, if he testifies, this may open up questions about things that he may want to think about asserting his Fifth Amendment privilege. Have you discussed this with him? Mr. Reyes, could unmute yourself and come on the Zoom call?
We're actually working with a deal on the prosecutor, so
Okay, so ma'am,
not a thing.
I just understand that. But working on a deal means there hasn't a deal been set. And even if a deal has been set, additional information can upset all that. Having a fair amount of experience in criminal law. And so there's a video, I think, that was submitted by, which is, I'll be frank with everyone, it's kind of disturbing. And so to me, anyway, and I
That was
haven't
the
really
day
have any testimony
incident.
about that. That's in evidence, and it's been submitted. It's not in evidence in terms of the hearing, but it's in submitted. I've heard it. And so anyway, I can swear him in. He could testify. I just want to make sure he's doing that with open eyes. And I don't know whether you've discussed all this with him or not. I suspect not, but Mr. Reyes, you were on there for a minute, but now you're not.
He's there.
Okay. So, and this is, and you have an attorney. Do you have an attorney there in the juvenile case there, Mr. Reyes?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am, I'm talking to him. And these are questions, ma'am, that you cannot answer for him. Well, I'm getting kind of a scratchy connection here.
Turned in not too long ago. I had my buddy Curtis. He turned in a report as a witness to what happened at McDonald's on August 11th.
Is that in this case?
It should be, yes. And one more thing.
I didn't think of a second. I didn't see anything from anyone named Curtis. Possible I missed it.
His name is Zayden.
Yeah, Zayden.
He goes by Curtis. His name's Zayden.
I don't see anything from Aiden.
Zayden.
Still nothing.
But just a few days ago, Adrian happens to call his dad.
You haven't been sworn in or anything. So go ahead, raise your right hand. Would you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provided is be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So Ms. Bland, what do you wish to have him testify to?
I wish to have him testify to what Adrian did on August 11th.
Okay.
And the bullet that he found.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Reyes. You can speak to those two things.
So, I'll start off with the McDonald's. When that happened in McDonald's, I was very scared and for my safety, and my friend Curtis was right there. And Zayden, he also, just a few months later, because he heard everything that had happened, he wrote it down, and I had to have him give it to my mom. And just a few days later, Adrian happens to Zayden's dad did not like that, and he was pissed. Sorry for my language. But ever since then, after the McDonald's incident, it's been bad, and me and my family were very concerned for our safety and mine. And when it happened, when I also found the bullet, we didn't own a 9mm bullet or guns or anything. And I even checked in with my mom, and that's what I was really scared of.
So I guess I want to make sure I'm clear what your testimony is with regard to this bullet. You and Ms. Bland are saying that someone came into your house, left a bullet on your bed without any of you knowing about it?
Yes, sir.
It was in the RV.
Okay. Ms. Sturbis, do you have any questions for Mr.
Rigo,
Reyes?
did you talk about what happened?
I do have a question.
Ms. Bland, you need to be quiet.
Okay, so you said, can you hear me okay, Mr. Reyes?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't see you. I just want to make sure we have a good connection. So, Mr. Reyes, was it you that created this typed statement. Did you type this statement?
Yes.
Okay. And so you reviewed everything and you believe that it's accurate and complete. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're saying that your attorney gave you Layla Harp's address. Is that right? In this assault case?
Halloween.
He ensured we had the correct address.
I'm not
Ms.
asking you,
Ms.
Ms.
Bland.
Bland.
Yes,
She's
sir.
asking Mr. Reyes a question.
Mr. Reyes, in your statement, it says that your attorney ensured that you had Ms. Harp's correct address, right?
Just to check in with him. Yes, because we went on Halloween.
So your attorney gave the address to you. Is that what you're saying?
After that, yes. Just to clarify.
Okay. And that was your attorney who's representing you in the assault case. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And when was that your attorney gave you that address?
I don't remember what day, but it was a day that we met up with him and had a meeting with him about our next court date.
Do you remember what month?
In October or November. It was one of those.
So was it after that there were already charges filed against you, correct?
Which happened in November.
Again, Ms. Bland, I'm not asking you anything.
Just answer the question if you can, Ms. Reyes. If you don't know, you don't know.
I just believe it was at the end of November.
Okay. And so when you found, were you the one who personally found a bullet on your bed?
Yes. And I showed my
Okay.
mother.
Okay, and you say that you believe it was Layla or Adrian who took your wallet and placed a bullet on your bed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And did you personally make a report to the police regarding that?
No.
Okay. I don't have anything further. Thank you.
So I just have one question for Ms. Bland, if you could come back on. There's an incident you spoke of at McDonald's. It was in August, and then we've heard a lot about Halloween. What happened between, if anything, between August and Halloween?
Just text messages back and forth. I attempted to file a restraining order when I had a day off of work.
Second. I mean interactions between the two of you and this
I'm
text
telling
message.
you.
Any of those? Yeah, but no, you're saying you're trying to file. I mean incidents between you and Mr. You
I'm
trying to
trying to
file
tell
is not
you.
testimony of that. So
I'm trying to tell you.
these text messages, were they threatening or anything like that?
So
I didn't see any.
when I filed a restraining order, I had asked Adrian, because I couldn't find his old address. I had asked him for his new address, and then that's when he said that he was going to go ahead and file the assault charges.
Right. Okay. So Mr. Durham, I have a question for you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sounds like you had telephone conversations with Mr. Crane in August.
Yeah.
And then it sounded like things were at least, I mean, what was the tenor of your final conversation there?
At the beginning, it was really, really, really hot. Towards
Right.
the end, it was okay. As far as like when I went to go serve Mr. Crane, he informed me through the ring camera that he wasn't there. It was a pretty chill conversation. We were talking. Well, he was talking. He was telling me about how he was gonna have his lawyer fees tagged to Korine, and he was gonna take her place. And then all of a sudden, the police showed up, which completely surprised me. Guns, like with a big rifle out and everything. I didn't understand what that was about. It was very upsetting.
Especially on the
But
ring
it
camera.
it,
They
it
know who you
seemed
are.
it it seemed like, what between me and Mr. Crane, everything was okay up until the police showed up with their rifles up.
All right, thank you. So Ms. Sturbis, do you wish to call witnesses?
Well,
I've reviewed your declarations.
yes, and I have a follow-up question for Mr. Durham, just based on what he just said, if you wouldn't mind.
I would actually like to move this along, and because
Okay.
we're here all morning, we have 3 cases still pending here. We're coming
That's
up
fine.
11:15. We're supposed to be done by noon.
Okay, I'll
It's
just
probably not
argue
going
with
to
it.
happen. So
Okay, I'll just argue
yeah,
it.
and I've got a lot of information from Ms. Bland, Mr. Durham, and so yeah, if you wish to call witnesses, we'll hear from them.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So first of all, Your Honor, I filed a supplemental declaration of Adrian Crane, and that was on Friday afternoon. And I had talked with the court to make sure that that would be included and processed on Friday. And I talked with somebody this morning because I didn't see that. And I did provide copy over the email to Ms. Bland. Well, it's now in the court file, but I am guessing since you've been on the record, you haven't had a chance to review it, because it is a very short declaration. And its only purpose is just to give a foundation for the audio file, the ring file. I would just propose that I have Mr. Crane read it into the record word for word. It just basically describes and explains and authenticates the evidence that the court already has filed.
Okay, basically what it says is, when petitioner was trying to serve papers, Mr. Durham was at the door. And then basically his son answered the door, was there, and not Mr. Durham himself.
That's accurate.
And then there's the screenshot of August 11th. She's been with her son smoking in public after she told her to communicate with her. Accurate transcript. And then apparently there's a transcript of the 911 call when he tried to serve papers. The caller was Hannah Crane. She was not at the residence, but her 17-year-old son was there. Okay, so basically he wasn't home when and apparently Mr. Durham, according to the declaration, Mr. Durham was speaking with his Mr. Crane's 17-year-old son and not Mr. Crane himself.
Your Honor, if I may.
No, that's not.
Go ahead. Just go ahead, Mr. Durham.
No one came to the door. No one answered the door. Mr. Crane himself spoke to me on the ring camera.
Right. And what they're saying is that wasn't him. That was his son, basically.
Yeah, but I didn't even know anybody was there.
Right. Okay, I get it. Okay, Ms. Sturbis, anything further?
Yeah, I was trying to say, Your Honor, that while we were validating and authenticating the ring camera recording, what we were saying is that Mr. Crane, the respondent, was not at the house. However, through the ring audio, he was able to speak to Mr. Durham. But because he wasn't there, that's why the police were summoned, because only his 17-year-old was at the house. I just wanted to make sure you understood that. Okay, great. I just have very few questions, Your Honor. Mr. Crane is present.
Go ahead.
Did you already swear him in?
No, that's all right. My mistake. I did not. Mr. Crane, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
You can put your hand
State
down.
your full name.
You can
Thank you.
go ahead.
Please state your full name for the record.
My full name is Adrian Lee Crane.
And I'm assuming that you reviewed petitioner's text message that starts with, "Yo, is this Rico?" Correct?
Yes,
And at the top of that, there was a phone number, a 984-280-0240 number. That's not your phone number, is it?
no,
That's not Layla Harp's phone number, is it?
no,
That's not Hannah Crane's phone number, is it?
no,
Okay, and that was on June 21st, June 21st of 2023, about 11:28 a.m., correct?
sounds about right.
Okay. And how many times have you been in Korine Bland's presence in person?
We've only seen each other 2 times in real life.
Okay. And was one of them Halloween?
Correct.
Okay. And we heard that from Jay Durham that you called over and over and over on August 11th. Did you look at telephone records regarding any calls that you made to a phone number that Jay gave as ending in, I believe it was 0, can you read that? 0001. Did you do a record search to see if there were phone calls recorded on August 11th?
Correct. There's very few.
How many were there?
1 phone call.
One phone call on August 11th. Okay. And
What about Facebook Messenger?
were you aware that Layla Harp and Rigo Reyes were not supposed to be scheduled at the same shift once the manager became aware of the assault?
Yes, I was aware that they weren't supposed to be there.
Okay, so they were never scheduled with the same shifts on the same time after that happened, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm assuming that you were never in any type of a party circumstance in Ms. Bland's presence, correct?
Yeah, I don't.
You never had any occasion to drink alcohol in her presence?
I was a DD at my wedding. No, I don't
A
drink.
DD?
Depends the driver. I was the designated driver. Yeah,
Okay, so you don't drink?
No.
Okay. And there's a little confusion on the petition, apparently from Ms. Bland, about whether you do or don't have weapons or whether it's unknown. But have you ever taken a weapon out, made any threats to, we'll start with Ms. Bland.
No.
And how about Rigoberto Reyes?
No.
Okay. Well, we might as well throw in Mr. Durham. You've never threatened him.
No.
You need respect. All right. And I think the rest is covered, but you obviously created both your declaration and your supplemental declarations, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That have been filed in this case, and they're true and accurate in all
Yes,
respects.
ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Bland, I did hear you ask, what about the Facebook Messenger? So I'll ask that on your behalf, and then I'll ask you if you have any other questions you wish me to present to Mr. Crane. Mr. Crane, on August 11th, were there any Facebook messages sent by you to either Ms. Bland or any one of the parties on the other side there?
Yeah, so we did communicate through Facebook Messenger, Your Honor, and I could actually provide you proof of it, but most of the calls originated from the petitioner to the respondent. There was a couple callbacks. If I remember correctly, there was a couple dropped calls because of where they were at.
No,
They actually
there were no
initiated the
drop
calls
calls.
to me. If you look at the records from that day, they're not included because we didn't feel the need to, but I can provide those. They initiated the calls to me first that day.
Mm-mm.
Ms. Bland, anything else you wish to, any other questions you have for Mr. Crane?
It's no, but that day he called my Facebook Messenger alone twice. And I don't know how many times he's called Jasmine. And we literally told him that we were at a family event and that we weren't going to be able to do anything that at that time.
So now's the time, people
How many
present
times?
argument. What's that? You were going to say something, Ms. Bland?
Yeah, I'm looking. Okay, so I have three calls from Adrian on August 11th. I called Adrian and asked him to quit calling. I also stated, I don't give a damn what happened. You step to my kid again, you'll be dealing with me. Your job will be hearing about a no contact order between you and a minor because of your actions. So it was that day.
This was in August.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was
So
August 11th.
I'll hear from you, ma'am, as a final statement or argument you wish to make to me as to why you think you should have orders against both these folks. Then I'll hear from Ms. Sturbis, and then I'll make a decision.
I think I should have order from these to be protected from these people because he made a death threat to my child. He's chased my child through McDonald's. I can't prove that he did anything with the wallet or the bullet, but my son doesn't have any issues with anybody else in the community. So it's just unrealistic that some person that doesn't have an issue with him or I brought a bullet to our house or took his wallet and put it on top of the trash. I've asked Layla to stay away from McDonald's where she no longer works, and she told me she was unwilling to do so. And I just asked her that she could stay away.
Assumes facts, not an evidence.
Just this is argument. I'm going to let her continue, Ms. Sturbis.
Okay.
I just asked her to stay away while he's at work, and I asked her to agree to that, and she said that she was unwilling to. And so to prevent any more issues from happening in the future, I would just like a protection order in place. It could go mutual. That's
No,
not
it can't.
Okay.
It needs to be a cross petition, and there isn't.
Okay. Well, I'm asking to be protected from Adrian and Layla so that there are no more future issues with any of the situations that have gone on. This has gone on for far too long, and I just see it escalating and getting worse as time goes on.
Ms. Sturbis?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, this petition for protection order has been flawed from the very beginning. It was sworn under penalty of perjury, yet it is filled with assumptions, damaging assumptions, which I believe the court should view all of Ms. Bland's credibility with that in mind. She states in one place that he has firearms and that he's threatened with firearms, and then later she has unknown. She's also discussed, again, under penalty of perjury, that substance abuse has been involved, it's alcohol abuse, and then later, of course, that's not accurate as well. But Your Honor, the very base, the most important thing about these petitions, and the reason why I belabored this point is it is important to hold people to a standard. And the reason they're sworn under penalty of perjury is because there have to be a result or reaction if somebody does lie under penalty of perjury. And I would submit to you, when you look at page 12 where she signs it, the date is November 17th, 2023, Your Honor, when she dated this thing. And then when you read her narrative, she talks about things that haven't even happened yet, Your Honor. It's ludicrous. She says on November 28th, my son found a bullet in the center of his bed. If we are to hold her to this very low standard, but she is trying to get an order to be in the justice system that's going to have far-ranging impacts on Mr. Crane. Another date she puts in the narrative on November 26th, 2023, Adrian's wife, TikTok account. I mean, if you can't even trust that she can come up with consistent and reliable statements in this petition, I don't know how we can expect her to be honest or reliable on the stand. Clearly, swearing under penalty of perjury doesn't mean much to her because of the petition, what I've already pointed out. Additionally, Your Honor, I would just submit that if it was true that she was truly in fear for her son's safety, that there would be police records or indicia. We do have as
What
one of
are
our
they going to do?
exhibits
Tell me
the
to file a
fact
no
that
contact order?
the fact that the respondent did a records check from McDonald's and that there were absolutely no police calls regarding Mr. Crane, McDonald's. And if this extremely terrorizing event had happened, one would expect to see that. We know that Ms. Bland, from her own mouth, is very familiar with using law enforcement to try to help deal with the small issues and the big issues in her life. She did admit on the stand that she has used the police to try to see if she could take away her son's cell phone. And I would submit to the court that while that's probably not something one should be wasting 911's time with, it is again very suspect that she would be trying to utilize the police for that, but not if she truly believes her son is in danger. And additionally, Your Honor, some of the things that were presented, and I know that you know when it is assuming facts, not in evidence, but I would just submit to you that you do also have declarations from Ms. Harp. I don't think it has been established that there should be even the tiniest bit of evidence supporting an order against Ms. Harp. And again, when Your Honor considers all the evidence before you, I would submit the petitioner, she can't even get one of the respondents' names correct. I mean, she puts Layla Harper. Again, it's caution and carefulness. And this is something she's asking you to make a very drastic decision that is going to impact my client in traveling and all kinds of things. And that I don't think that what she has submitted rises to that level, Your Honor. I do believe that Ms. Harp has authenticated the recording regarding the assault. And so you have foundation and you have authentication based on the exhibits that we have submitted. She did indicate that why she broke off the relationship. She did indicate that there have been at least 4 occasions where he assaulted her. And again, if, as Ms. Bland has alleged, there were numerous indications when Ms. Harp was allegedly punching Mr. Reyes in his private areas, I just find it, again, this is a woman who is very familiar with calling the police and not even one single police call regarding that assault. Also, Your Honor, I would just submit that when you take into account Ms. Crane, she indicates and she authenticates regarding the Halloween. And again, in the Halloween incident, you have a ring recording. And I would submit to you, I know it is kind of a long recording. It is a continual recording. You can see in I believe it's the bottom right-hand corner, that it hasn't been edited. You can see the continual running of the time, both in the recording. There's one recording time, and then there's actually 2. So I would submit again that shows that Mr. Crane goes outside after they've walked away, that the only statement made by anyone in the Crane household was Ms. Crane saying, please don't come back. And she did that after the kids were even off the porch. So she waits. Korine, Ms. Bland is kind of hanging back a little bit. And then you hear Ms. Crane's voice very clearly stating, please don't come back. And so none of that supports what was stated in the petition regarding him coming out, yelling, screaming, threatening to beat my ass. And again, even if she tried to change it today a little bit after she reviewed the ring video, which I'm sure the ring video probably was quite a surprise to her that we actually have proof that he wasn't doing that. Again, I would just submit that you need to take all of that into account when you assess whether to give her any credibility. And I don't believe she should be given credibility based on the flawed things that she swore to. And Your Honor, based on all of that, I would ask that you deny the order both on behalf of my client Layla Harp and on behalf of my client Adrian Crane. Thank you.
So
I have one more thing to say.
Go ahead, Ms. Bland.
So the original date on the 17th was when I went and picked up the paperwork, and then I had added into as it happened, what happened with Hannah and the bullet, and I just didn't go back and revise the date I had signed that order before I submitted it.
So, okay, thank you. So my ruling in this case is as follows. First of all, Ms. Bland is asking for 2 orders, one against Ms. Harp, and then the other against Mr. Crane. And take the easiest first. Ms. Harp, I don't see anything either in the testimony. We've been at this for quite some time, either in testimony or in the declarations or in the petition that could be construed as harassing from Ms. Harp in any way. Ms. Bland indicates, well, she requested that she stay away from McDonald's. She can eat where she wants. And the fact that she chooses to eat at McDonald's or anywhere, she can do that. She's not under court order. And so it would not be harassing for her to, I mean, apparently, I think there was some.
There's so many questions.
There was some indication in the record she used to work there, or maybe still does, has friends who works there. That's the fact that you ask her not to go to McDonald's and she does anyway. That's not harassing in any way, shape, or form. And so the order against her is denied. With regard to Mr. Crane, there's a little bit more there. It's alleged, and I saw there was a text from June that does indicate some threats, apparently, towards Mr. Reyes. And but that's from an unknown phone number. Mr. Crane has testified under penalty of perjury. That's no one in his family's phone number. I think Ms. Bland even indicated she just saw that was a North Carolina number and assumed it was from. There's a lot of assuming going on in this case, actually, and assumed that that it was Mr. Crane who had sent that text, but I can't certainly make any sort of finding based on that. I can't see any evidence that links him to those particular texts. Following that, there was the incident that we heard quite a lot about that was alleged to have occurred on August 11th. There was an incident again that was alleged to have occurred at McDonald's. There were subsequent conversations between Mr. Crane as well as Mr. Durham, who frankly I found Mr. Durham a very credible witness in terms of what he said about how things happened, and things were emotional at first. And I'm going to use his words. By the time they ended their conversation, things were pretty chill. And then following August 11th, as far as I can tell, there was some contact information back and forth between Ms. Bland and Mr. Crane. It did not indicate, I didn't hear from anyone that that was harassing or threatening in any way. And I think I specifically asked Ms. Bland if it was threatening, and she indicated that it wasn't. And she said, "You come after my kid," or things like that, things of that sort. But nothing coming, Mr. Crane is the respondent, nothing coming from him with regard to him being harassing. Then there was the incident on Halloween, and which indicates that Ms. Bland, perhaps unknowingly, actually showed up at their house and trick or treats, which isn't uncommon. People go to different neighborhoods to trick or treat all the time. I know that happens in Olympia, so I can't imagine that Ms. Bland intentionally sought out. That doesn't make any sense to me either, that she would seek out the Cranes to go trick or treating, but nonetheless, there they were. And then what happened after that? And then there's the allegation where Ms. Bland says, well, he threatened to whatever. I will be frank with everyone, that's not supported in the video that I saw was referenced. Ms. Bland indicates, well, that video must have been doctored somehow, or was doctored somehow, but I can't make any finding in that regard either. And then there was the issue with regard to the wallet and the bullet, and and I can't just assume, well, people having problems, so it must be them. I can't do that. I can't find any sort of connection that links one to the other. And so Mr. Reyes may have some problems with other people. Maybe he did that himself. Maybe Mr. Crane did it. But based on any of the evidence presented, I can't make a finding one way or the other. And as a petitioner, Ms. Bland, you carry the burden of proof. In a civil case, it's different than a criminal case, but nonetheless, you have to make a showing by preponderance of the evidence that the harassment has existed. And harassment is, maybe I should have read this at the beginning of the calendar. Sometimes I do, but I'm going to do it now. Is a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, harasses, or is detrimental to such person that serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. The course of conduct must be such that would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress and must actually cause substantial emotional stress to the petitioner. And then course of conduct is defined is a pattern of conduct composed of a series of acts over a period of time, however short, evidencing continuity of purpose. And then it goes on a little bit more about what that means in terms of communication, contact, or conduct. So not every conflict, ma'am, Ms. Bland, I'm going to speak to you directly, not every conflict is harassment. And assuming for the moment that, and I'm not making this finding, but even that incident at McDonald's occurred exactly as you're alleging, that's a single incident. And a single incident doesn't arise to the level of harassment, and it could be construed as a completely inappropriate response to an emotional thing that he heard about his stepdaughter. And which would not be great and not good, but at least understandable. And then from that point going forward to Halloween. Okay, ma'am, okay, I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking. And so I would really ask you not to interrupt me when I'm speaking also. And so from the August 11th to Halloween, I don't find anything that was harassing from either part. And that Halloween, like I say, there's just insufficient evidence for me to make any sort of finding harassment. Having said all that, Mr. Crane, I'll turn to you. Clearly, you know how Ms. Bland and Mr. Reyes and I assume Mr. Durham feel about contact from you. They don't want any. And so going from this point forward, if there is any contact from you towards them, I'd probably take a little different view on whether or not that contact is harassing or not. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm good for this particular hearing. I'm going to deny the petition I'm going to deny the petition for orders with regard to both parties. And this case will be concluded.
Okay, if this happens to my son, there will be consequences and repercussions. Thank you.
And you're all free to leave the Zoom call.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next, we're going to take up Ms. Molinelli.